because I found my way. Take back my life today. It's me, I'm queen. I'm a winning woman. I'm winning every day because I found my way. Take back my life today. It's me, I'm queen. I'm a winning woman.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our second episode of Women in Business, and this topic is investments, and who else than the great, honestly, I just love her so much. I just love her so much. Welcome, Lin. She's an amazing woman in business. Welcome, Lin, to Women in Business Investment segment.
Thank you so much. I'm ready for you. I told you before we started recording, nothing's off limits.
Oh my
God.
Ask
away.
First of all, guys, I love her so much. And I met her in January, and she has, oh my God, such amazing platforms. I see her everywhere. She's so knowledgeable. And I just always, oh, Lin is talking here. I gotta go. Oh, Lin has a workshop. I gotta go. She has a webinar. She has so much knowledge. And I have been really blessed joining your group and being in anything that you're associated with. So, first of all, when I started all of this, I had to get you, but I had to figure out the right moment to get her on. And why not, as one of the most, inspirational women that I've known, I've met as a woman in business. So welcome, Lin. I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. So much pressure. So much pressure.
Honestly, it's a lot of pressure because I really look up to you. I was like, is she adopted? Like, why don't, so anyways, I really look up to you. So, so if anybody out there who really doesn't know who Lin Sok is, can you introduce yourself to the masses?
Sure, of course. So I will give you the standard elevator pitch. My name is Lin Sok. I'm a Montreal-based financial security advisor and founder of Sohan Assurance et Services Financiers. I'm also licensed as a mutual funds dealer representative with CapeCo Financial, and I'm a mortgage broker stagiaire with Orbis Group here in Montreal. Basically my clientele is mainly women, which is how you and I met. Most of my clients are women. At least half of them are entrepreneurs. My ideal clientele, my niche market is really that middle income earner. In my case, it just happens to be women. I am expanding my firm right now, so it's not that I say no to men, and it's just how it kind of happened. But it's really to just reach out to middle income earners, no holds barred. You've been to some of my workshops. We've spoken one-on-one. I'm very simple, transparent, sarcastic. I keep it real. I just, I'm obsessed with teaching people on how to generate wealth and how to take care of their finances. And it's just a lifelong process. It's not just one course that's going to teach you everything. This is ongoing learning.
That's it. I love it. So as you know, you're like the perfect person to talk to about investments, just because that's what you do. You do a lot of advising on finances. And then to hear on top of that, you're a mortgage broker. So you have even a deeper hand, with real estate and all that sort of investment. So as a financial advisor, it goes hand in hand with investing. So right now, what are some areas of investing that you have ventured into personally, for your own benefit?
Well, so I'm going to break this down into two ways. So there's what I do professionally and what I do personally. So professionally, I'm licensed as a mutual funds dealer representative. So basically I offer mutual funds and ETFs, so long-term investing solutions. That's the type of clientele I want to work with, because a lot of people ask, well, how come you don't get your securities license and whatnot and deal with the exempt markets? It's because the type of clientele I want to service are those who, have a very basic knowledge in investing. So I help teach them how investing works, how to read a fund fact, how asset allocation works. I actually sit down and show them how it's done. Yeah. On a personal level, I'm very much invested in the stock market. It's part of my daily routine. I get up in the morning, my husband and I, We take a look at what's going on in the economy, you know, how the markets have done overseas. We look at the Dow futures and kind of looking forward, we'll see how the day goes. Are we day traders? No. Who has time for that? Not me. You know, other people might. I'm not a day trader, but what I do look at are economic trends, right? So we won't buy and sell necessarily every day, but my husband and I, we do look at, you know, what's our next strategy, what's our next play, and it's part of our routine, our daily routine. So that's what I do personally. On the professional side, I'm not allowed to give stock advice. That's not part of what I do, but I do encourage everybody to give it a try. You may or may not like it, and you're not going to know unless you try it for yourself.
Okay. So question 3, what inspired you to step into the area of business, finances, all of that? Like, what made you choose this career?
I don't want to tell you like there's a Cinderella story that I grew up with parents who taught me everything that I know. Growing up, I grew up, you know, very low income. My family and I came to Canada as refugees. So the only thing I knew about money is that we didn't have any of it. Don't ask, don't even bother. No, we didn't have any of it, but we always had a roof over our heads. And, you know, I always remember what my parents, especially my father, always taught us is that we're very blessed to be here in Canada. There's a lot of opportunities. You put your head down, you work hard, and keep working as hard as you can for as long as you can, because one day there's going to come a day when you won't be able to work anymore. So I've always held on to that. I became a mother at a young age. I was 19. And I kind of fell into finance. It was presented to me by accident in my early 20s. And I took it as a means to, you know, to raise a family, have flexible hours. You know, I was able to work part to full time. So when I first started out, it wasn't because I was on a mission to educate people. It was because it was something to do. You know, like many people, they go to school and they get into fields that they're not necessarily passionate about, but it's a career. Right. So that's how I started, and how I ended up becoming where I am and with the like my current mindset is really after I went through a divorce. So right before I turned 30, I had left my career. I had left finance for personal reasons, and I went through a divorce. I became a single mom of 4. Very quickly, I had to learn how to get really creative.
Wow,
you know, with the
big
kids.
transition. Yeah.
I mean, I always say that one of these days I'm going to write a book about that period in my life. I just don't know if the world's ready for it yet, but I know who to contact if I'm ready to write. But it was really during that period of my life when I took that break, that's when I understood the importance of not only understanding finances, but how to generate wealth. You know, because every family, there comes a certain point, right? In, you know, from generation to generation, it's either you stay the same as past generations, or you consciously make the decision that you're going to make the next generation better. So that's what happened to me during that period. I said, you know, my family doesn't come from anything, you know, and all my parents wanted for us to do was become educated and have good careers. But for me, that just wasn't enough. I wanted my children to be that wealthy first generation. So that's when I started to see, you know, how your investment decisions impact you fiscally, right? Because there's tax strategies when it comes to wealth generation, how to invest for the long term, how to pass on wealth to the next generation, how to create wealth for the next generation. So that's when I became really obsessed with it. And also, I realized that there's just such a need for it, because my niche market, as I said in the beginning, is the middle class, middle income earners. We all go out, we all work, we make our paychecks, you know, whether we're self-employed or we're employed, we all work really hard. Why should we not have the same access to information that the so-called 1% get? That's why the 1% always gets wealthier and wealthier, right? It's because someone taught them at some point that this is what you need to do with your money. Well, guess what? You, Latoya, could have access to that information. It's not a society. You have to, number one, surround yourself with people who are going to give you that information. And you also have to be open to receiving that information.
Exactly. I feel like the knowledge is key. Like I keep saying that, and we have to do the work. Like the information is out there, the knowledge is out there. Like who is going to do it for your life, for your children, if you don't? And a lot of us we become complacent or lack of a better word, lazy about these things because it's going to take too long. Oh, I have to sit up and listen to this long, boring lecture on finances. Yeah, you have to. You have to know about your money. You have to invest time in learning how to manage your money. And I wish I had this passion for financial literacy a long time ago. I would have already been a millionaire, people, like I'm telling you. And I'm doing a lot for, I would have already been.
But that's what everybody says. And you know what? It happens, right? Yeah. I mean, we all wish we could go back in time and do certain things. Well, you can't go back in time. What you can do is start moving forward, right? Exactly. You start moving forward, address your issues today. And how do we not make those same choices as we did in the past?
Exactly.
And that's all we can do.
Exactly. And honestly, from your webinar, talking about, retiring and preparing for retirement and having, a certain amount of money that's necessary, like all of these things that we're just not thinking about because we're living in the now. And, like our decisions are in the now. And so from that webinar that you had in January, it was eye-opening on how to save and how to prepare for retirement, but it was eye-opening on, even for me, that I needed to know more information to manage my wealth better. Like I started becoming more active, making sure my life insurance was up to date, putting more action in my steps. So I feel like it's really important to, like you say, surround yourself, because from that webinar, I was surrounded with a lot of people who were talking the type of language, the conversations about finances, investing that I wanted to hear. So I was really grateful for that webinar. Okay, and you want to talk about your children, and I saw that you were teaching them about investing and you were getting them more involved. So how involved are they in investments actually?
Well, my boys have no interest right now. So right now my children are 21, 17, 15, 13. My 17, 15-year-old are my daughters, and my boys are the other two. It's really my daughters who are interested in investing. My 17-year-old is interested in real estate. And, in full transparency, how did she get interested in real estate is because I told her how much successful real estate brokers make. Ooh. And we took, I won't name any names, but we know of, because we lived in a particular neighborhood, and we know of one real estate broker who he was very well known in the area. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't look like much of anything, right? But all we knew is that he was selling every other property in the neighborhood. So I said to her, let's look up his listings. Yeah. And we saw all the listings that he had, and I explained to her how commissions work. And it just, it was an eye opener for her. And she said to me, and I remember it like it was yesterday, she said, he is not any smarter than I am. Ooh. And I said, no, he's not.
Whoa, yeah, girl.
But here's the difference. He's doing it and you're not. Oh. That's the difference. So that was, she's 17. So I think she was 14 at the time. What? And she got it. So since the age of 14, she's been asking me, about business. She's around me all the time, like, Mom, what do you do all day? Clearly I'm not, I'm on social media a lot, but I'm also working at the same time. But I explained to her how money works and how investments work, and and how you could start generating wealth for yourself at a young age. She works part-time, and so she puts aside a certain amount, each paycheck. I remind her, you're living at home, you really don't have any bills, so I don't understand why you're going to blow your whole paycheck on clothes. Exactly. or so she doesn't. She has a strategy, she has a plan. There's some weeks where she saves almost all of her paycheck. Wow. Because I keep telling her, you're living at home. This is the time when you save. When you go out there, you got to pay real bills.
Real out there, people. Stay at home as long as you can. I don't know who's watching.
Yeah, exactly. My children can my children are allowed to stay at home for as long as they want, as long as they're either in school or working and putting money aside for something,
Yes.
contributing to the household. They're not going to stay at home being deadbeats. They're going to stay home with a purpose, but they're allowed to do that. If they want to start investing in real estate and still live at home, and as long as, the feng shui works inside the house and there's peace in the house, they're more than welcome to stay here.
As long as it works, it's perfect. I love that. And it's for those of you, I don't know who's watching, but your mom has you at home, your dad has you at home, maximize on this time. I saved a lot of money living at home, and I was definitely grateful for the opportunity. And I wish as a married woman, I could still stay at home, but sometimes you have to leave the nest, but you do what you can. So
well, look, in my case, I mean, when I divorced, I wished that I had that privilege or that option to move back in with my parents, but that wasn't an option. Like my father was, nope. you wanted to make a big girl decision, you could live your big girl life. That's basically what happened in my case, which is fine. But I saw some of my other friends who were going through divorces, and they, their parents, their families opened up their doors to them, and I was so, I don't want to call it envious, but it gave them that push. And all I said to them was, I hope you take full advantage, take that opportunity. You have a roof over your heads, you don't have any bills to pay. Save, invest, don't just stay there without making any changes. This is your opportunity. So I've told my kids, you could stay as at home as long as you want, just as long as there's a purpose behind it, and as long as there's peace in the house.
Yeah, as long as there's peace. I love that.
Yeah,
I love it. And I hope, and that's my goal. My goal is to grow my son up in an environment where he's, cultured, and he's learning about financial decisions and managing money. And, we're having these conversations. I think even I'm trying to do a storybook around that idea, because I remember teaching in a high school a couple of years ago, and in a passage in a French class, mind you, I wasn't teaching French. It had a passage about credit, and that sparked a big conversation with them, because you're talking about money, and they're like, yeah, miss, what about this? What about this? Can I buy a house? Can I buy? And so the topic moved from just having a grammatical paragraph on French, moved into credit discussion, and I saw a whole class just get eyes open and pay attention like they've never been in their entire life. And they were about, I think, grade 11.
Yeah.
They were never attentive to anything in that way. And they were like asking questions, and they were like, wow, miss, this conversation just gave me the reason why I went to high school. This is the kind of information that I need. And so a lot of times during my bachelor's, we were talking about, why isn't there a course in high school, not in college, in high school? Because as soon as I leave high school, I can take out a loan for school. I need to know how to manage my money. And a lot of us are in student debt because of mismanaging our loans from college. So why aren't we teaching our children right before they graduate?
Yeah.
Little financial course on credit score and those things.
Well, I know my daughter, my daughter who's in grade 11 now, so she's in her last year. I know that at her school there is a financial literacy course. I believe it's part of I believe it's part of one of her subjects, but I know that it has started.
Yes.
I don't know about making it as an entire course. That that's something that wouldn't have to be pitched to the Ministry of Education. But this is a conversation that's been going on. I mean, it's not brand new. It's been going on for generations. Why don't they teach financial literacy in school? There could be a multitude of reasons. I'm going to say, a little sneak peek. I was going to announce this later on, but I know that this summer, I was discussing with another parent who actually came to me with the idea. I'm always open to ideas, and it was something that was brewing in my head. But I was thinking of offering like a virtual financial literacy course for maybe grade 10 and 11 students, because usually grade 10 and 11 students, that's when they get their first job.
Yes.
Normally. So for example, my 17-year-old in grade 11, she just came home a couple of weeks, in February, with her first T4 slips. And she's like, I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, ooh, exciting, you know, you're a big girl now. And she's like, do I have to pay taxes? I'm like, no, you, oh, thank God. But you know, this is where you start the conversation, right? Because when they start working in that age, they don't pay any taxes,
Yeah.
but there'll come a time when they will.
When,
And
oh
they
my God.
they'll need to know how that feels.
You'll need to know that that cough you get and that pull.
Yeah, exactly. It happened to my son because he took a year sabbatical. So my 21-year-old, he graduated from CJAP. He was accepted into university, but because of COVID and whatnot, he decided to defer his entry for a year. So he worked full time in 2020, and he worked. He had the full-time income,
Yeah.
right? So he's no longer a student. Now, as much as I talk to my kids about finances, he did not listen to me. He did not listen to me. And I told him, listen, make a contribution to your RSPs, because he made a lot of money last year.
Yeah.
He was working like crazy. I mean, he made big boy income.
Oh.
And he's going to get taxed because he worked a lot of overtime and whatnot. And I said, you know, make a contribution to your RSP. Naturally, he didn't do it.
Naturally.
Naturally he didn't do it, but that's a big boy lesson he's going to learn, because he's going to see that he's probably going to have to pay back. I looked at his numbers, and you know, I'm right at his disposal, but
you know, like if Lynn was my mom, where's your son? Maybe I should talk to him. Listen, if I had access, I literally would be living. Can I do this with this? Can I put this here? Maximizing mommy.
But you're also seeing that now, knowing what you know. But you know, let's say if you were back in your early 20s, would you think the same way? You know,
in my early 20s, I've always been good with money.
Okay.
What the problem is, and I think we had talked about it in one of Jessica's beautiful Wednesday meetups, guys, is that I didn't have bigger goals. I wasn't dreaming big. So yes, I was saving money, but what do I do with it? Yes, I was making money and having it there, but doing nothing really. Okay, I wasn't even into buying a brand name or fancy things, but I felt, okay, I could help my mom with rent. Okay, I could pay for school on my own, take that burden away from them. Pay for our immigration stuff on my own, take that burden away from my mom. But I never was thinking bigger.
Yeah.
So that was a problem. That was a little problem for me. I didn't know what to do with my money. And if I had known, so guys, and so I have my sisters, right? 21 and 25. And I'm always like, okay, did you check your credit? Okay, did you check your credit? Okay, did you pay rent on time? Do you know that if you don't, and they're like, okay. It's the same thing, right? They don't, guys, if you're watching, listen to me. And, you know, so they don't really take in as much as I want them to. And although I hound them with information, and I'm like, I want you to make better decisions than I did. I want you to buy a real estate at 25. I want you to, it's the same way. It's like, well, that's not my path. I will learn for myself. So hopefully my son doesn't do that, but it's going to break my heart. But yeah, I really, really, really maximize on having connections with anybody that I can learn from. Okay. So I've seen you talk about, so first of all, Lynn has an amazing group. It's called Women in Money Montreal. So if you're really about your money, I suggest joining that group. I'm going to put all links to that group in under. There's so many other women in business and women in finances, a lot of women, professional women in that group, and a lot of information is circulating in that group. You'll learn so much. But I've seen that you post things about stocks and trading them, etc. So how do you feel about stepping into trading stocks, and how does a newbie become a trader of stocks? And is it intimidating being in the stock market?
I'm not intimidated because I have a strategy to my game. Like I said, you know, on a professional level, I'm not allowed to give stock advice, but I'm more than willing to, you know, guide someone who wants to open up an account and how to do it. I always give my personal stock tips on how to do it as a newbie. And I always encourage everyone to give it a try, because everybody comes to me saying the same thing. I want to start investing in stocks, but I don't know how to do it. But then that's usually followed up with, I want to invest in the stock market, but I don't want to take any risks. Well, you know, so I always tell people, listen, you're never going to know unless you give it a try. And 9 times out of 10, I'll be honest, most of the people that I work with, they end up not doing much with it. Like they'll open up the account and maybe trade a few stocks, but they won't get too much into it because it's time consuming and it's a little nerve wracking. You
Yeah,
know,
but yeah.
it's very emotional. And if you can't keep your emotions aside, then it could consume your entire day.
Yeah, because if I'm thinking about it, like I do a little bit of trading and I try not to be too consumed with looking at, oh my God, it's falling. Oh my God, it's rising. And so does my emotions fall and rise with it. So yeah, you have to be ready for the battle or just hand over some money to someone to deal with it for you and understand the risk. That's where I want to be later on. So, but one thing I just want everyone to know, this is information is not basically advice, financial advice. You have to do your information. I always say that with everything. You need to get an accountant. Well, I get that from Lynn, actually. You need to get an accountant, get a financial advisor, get people who are doing this for a living to really sit down with you, your portfolio, your bank account, because each one of us is different when it comes to investing, how much money we can. You need to have someone study your profile and help you make decisions for you. We're not the same. So whatever you learn here, it's just a learning basic. It's no, you should do this or you should do whatever. Just a disclaimer.
Yeah.
But I just wanted your opinion quick, if you can. What do you think about apps as Wealthsimple to start with trading?
Well, listen, I'm old school. So back in the day, we didn't have these fancy apps. We actually had to call a stockbroker and put in our trades, right? So, so yeah, that's how it used to be back in the day. But as far, but now, as far as apps are concerned, to be honest, what a lot of people don't realize is that every bank offers their own version of a self-directed brokerage account. Every single bank except Tangerine. Tangerine's a little bit different. They play by different rules. But every bank. So personally, I have a self-directed account with Scotiabank with iTrade, and I also have one for my corporate account with InvestorLine with the Bank of Montreal. So that's what I use personally. As for these other apps, look, they have there's nothing wrong with them, like the Wealthsimples, the Quest Trades of the world. There's nothing wrong with them. I know that's not popular to say in my field because there are tons of, ask any financial investment advisor how they feel about them. Listen, there's nothing wrong with them. In fact, a lot of investment advisors will use them personally, for their own trades. They're all more or less the same. Certain ones have different features. Like I forget, some of them you'll have to pay your fees initially. Others you'll only pay your fees when you cash out. At the end of the day, what are you trying to do? You're trying to buy some stocks and you're trying to sell them. That's it. And they all provide that same service. So I don't really have an opinion overall on what is better. Why did I go with the bank? Back when I opened up these accounts, it's because they were directly linked to my checking account. So I was able to make a trade in real time. I know that when Quest Trade, and I don't know if it's changed now, but with Quest Trade and Wealthsimple, because they're not affiliated with any banks, back in the day, it would take a couple of days for the money to leave your checking account into the account over there because you have to fund the account. So I didn't have time to do that. I wanted to, if I knew that I wanted to buy, 1,000 shares in XYZ stock today, I want to do it now in real time. So that's why I opened it with the banks. Again, I don't personally use those apps. I know they're very popular. They have very strong marketing, and I know that they offer a lot of features and whatnot.
Yeah, I have a couple shares with the app to test it out, of course, and it's pretty simple to use, but and it gives you the idea that you can get started right away and feel like you're investing. However, if you're not really spending, if you're not buying like 1,000 shares of anything, you're really not making a dent in anything, actually. And then you have to know what you're doing. Like you can't, you can put money there and just let it go up and down. But if you really want to reap benefits from your investments, you have to gain knowledge or get someone who has the knowledge. So I think that's a little bit with the Wealthsimple. If you use Wealthsimple, It is simple, but are you going to, you might just get simple investments. Just that's what it
Well,
is.
listen, I mean, more or less, they all offer you could buy or sell almost any stocks on all these
Yeah.
platforms, right? It just at the end of the day, use whatever you're going to use. I
Mhm.
mean, it's it's like losing weight. I know there are all kinds of different diets and apps that you could use,
Mhm.
but you have to choose the one that you're actually going to put into use, right? Otherwise, it's just sitting there. Same thing with these apps.
Mhm.
Like I use, I trade, I trade with both my personal and my corporate account. And I use the apps, right? Why? Because I don't like having money sitting there in cash. It's a big pet peeve of mine. Sometimes when I see clients who have large amounts of money in their checking account, it irritates me because I'm a person. I don't like seeing a lot of money just sitting in cash. It has to be doing
Not
something.
growing. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it bugs. I mean, that's my biggest pet peeve. Like I don't like having more than, a certain amount of money in my checking account for too long. Then it starts making me nervous because it means
Mhm.
it's not generating an
I
income.
hear, I hear you. So we're almost wrapping up. So basically, I wanted to know, I realize you are always showing up for so many women, you empower us, you support us, and you have so many businesses, so many you're investing for others, so many things in your plate, even making time for me, I appreciate. So how do you do it all as a mom and as a businesswoman with so much on their plate? Like, how do you manage at times?
I have a very strict calendar. If it's not in my agenda, it doesn't happen. I also raised my kids to be extremely independent.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm not going to take full credit for that. They were very accepting of that strategy as well. But
Yeah.
I really think me going through a divorce
Hmm.
um, made me step my mom game up. It
Really?
made me step up my parenting game because I don't know if my kids would be this independent if I was still married, to be
Ah,
honest.
yeah.
When I was, when we split up, I was 30 and my kids were like 10, between 2 and 10. They were still very young,
Hmm.
very, very young. And I remember sitting down with them. I'm like, listen, mom has to work, mom has to figure things out. So you guys are just gonna have to, you
Ooh,
know,
yeah.
watch each other. You're gonna
Yeah.
have to help around the house.
Hmm.
And we had that conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look back and wonder if we had stayed married, would
Mm.
my kids be this independent? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
mean, even with the kids, people ask how do I do it? It's really pretty easy for
Mhm.
me because I have the kids who are independent and I don't really have to watch over them anymore. They kind of do their own thing. In terms of my schedule, I'm very scheduled.
Yeah.
I even schedule, even though I work for myself, I do schedule breaks and lunchtime.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very important because otherwise I'll forget to eat.
Oh my God, I forget to eat all the time. I
Yeah. I mean,
can't.
anyone who's watching who's an entrepreneur who works from home, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Girl needs to eat, otherwise I get very angry at the end of the day. I'm also an early riser, so I know that by around 3 o'clock, if I'm up really early, I need to take a nap. So I'm very scheduled with my time. And
Hmm.
when I book appointments, I try as much as I can not to make them back to back
Hmm. Hmm.
because you need to breathe, you need to stretch.
Yeah.
It's still a work in progress, but I'm very much scheduled in my day.
I like schedule. I like organization. I'm sure people hear me say all the time, organization. I need to organize. My husband hates because I say it so much. I need to organize and I need to verify. Well, I don't think you should do that without verifying. Verify. Like a couple words I use all the time. So I love organize. If you see my little office area, it's a to-do list. It's a this. It's a day. It's a goals. It's everything. I love to have that. So I totally understand. But we're wrapping up. I just wanted your collective idea or thought on investment, just for the people if they feel motivated or encouraged to understand how important it is to own something or to invest money in that way. If like a roundabout summary of the whole thing.
Honestly, the best advice I could give is nobody created wealth from saving.
Ah,
This is another dagger in my heart when I meet clients. We all work so hard for our money, and it really hurts my heart when I see, especially women, who save, save, save. They do the thing you're supposed to do, put a portion of money aside, but that's it. There's no growth.
mhm,
you know all for the simple fact that they're scared of investing. Why are most people scared of investing? Because they don't know how to do it, because no one sat down and explained to them how investing works. And we're always scared of things that we don't know.
mhm.
And that's something that really breaks my heart. Like, nobody generated any real wealth just from putting some money aside. I mean, let's just be real. You need to learn how to invest. And like, I take the time to sit down with clients. And like I said, by the time you're done with me, you'll know how to read a fund fact.
Yeah.
You know how to read asset allocation, and all these big fancy words that scare us, right?
Mhm.
Because it's scary to look at, and to look at these documents that they send to you. But this is how you're going to make your money.
Yeah.
You're not going to make money by putting aside 10% of each paycheck into your savings account that's growing at 0.9%. That's not going to happen.
God.
And if you don't learn how to do it, if you don't learn how to do it, someone else will.
Mhm.
And
I need to be part of that. Okay. Nobody's learning to, you need to get
like,
in, no, invest time in you learning, increase your knowledge, get in the know.
listen, like I brought up the story of my daughter when she was 14 and asked, and that's when she decided she was going to get into real estate. Why? For the simple reason that, a very well-known realtor,
Yeah.
who didn't really look or seem like much of anything, is making a lot of money. And she decided at 14, she's like, that guy is not any better or smarter than me. The
Yeah.
difference is that he's doing it and I'm not. So I want some of that.
I mean, but that's a testament too to great parenting, or just enforcing confidence and in your kids. I love it that she understands that she has exactly what it takes and more, and
Yeah.
well, more because she's starting way younger than he is. So
Yeah,
exactly. to succeed, and that's amazing. That's what we want to instill in our children. So I really love that. So everyone, the key is get your confidence together, but understand that learning knowledge is key to making better informed decisions. So this question has nothing to do with investments, because as a teacher, all the time, every time I've taught any physics or math or anything, I always stop a little earlier, because I'm like, it takes so much from my mind to talk about finances. And I feel like you get asked this question all the time. You get asked a lot of financial stuff. So I wanted to ask you something fun. Tell me, what's your favorite activity to do that has nothing to do with finances? Because that's your everyday math and charts. What do you do? What is your go-to for fun?
I sleep. That's what I do. I sleep. It's funny because you when we were talking, you were prepping me for these questions, right?
Yes.
And I usually don't need prep, but that one question I always get asked, what do you do? And I asked my husband, like, what do I do? That's not everything that I do is related to my work. Somehow it all ties back to it.
Oh my gosh.
But one of my favorite activities to do, honestly,
Yeah.
is I go on long walks with my husband all the time.
Yeah.
And all of my great ideas, whether they were good or that they were great good or great bad, all came as a result of a really long walk with my husband. So it's I'm remarried now, I'm almost going to be remarried. So he's been a great supporter of what goes on in Lin's brain. Because there's a lot that goes on in here, and he's very open-minded, he's very forward-thinking, he's very supportive, and everything I've ever wanted to do has come from a result of a long walk with him. So I love walking.
Wow.
It clears my head. At least 3-4 times a week I'll go for a walk without my phone. Because I'm almost on call all the time, whether it's for emails or social media or phone calls. You need that time away. So I'll leave the house without my phone. That's really it.
That's your fun.
That's my fun. But I also like a good drink here and there. I mean, everyone who knows me.
What's your favorite drink, Lin?
It depends. It depends who I'm with.
Okay.
How, uh, a lot of my great ideas have also come as a result of a few drinks.
You're just a maximizer of time, and anything you're doing is gonna bring you some money somewhere.
Yeah, well, it depends what's my favorite drink. It depends on who I'm with. Husband and I, we love, just in the summertime having beer. Yes, I drink beer. I don't have a preference. I'm a vodka drinker, love my vodka. When I'm, with the boys, I like Johnny Walker Black.
Oh, you could handle. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And when I'm with the ladies, white wine.
Listen, don't play with Lynn if you're trying to have a bet with her about money and you try to get her to do shots. She will take it out.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
she'll take it out. Anything.
Maybe not as much as I used to, but I'm always down for a good time.
I love it. It was such a pleasure talking with you, Lynn. Thank you so much for taking time I know you're busy because I see you everywhere in your busy schedule. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do for our community, for women of diverse background, ethnicities, color. We love seeing you at the forefront. And I thank you so much for talking with Winning Knowledge today. Have a great day. Thank you.
I'm winning every day because I found my way. Take back my life today. It's me.